Yeah, hi, I'm Frank Whitmer, and we were looking at agricultural land use trends in Bosnia and exploring the new land trender algorithm that's in Google Earth Engine now. And so in case you're wondering where Bosnia is, here it is, right across the sea from Italy. And so what I was focusing on is looking at abandoned agricultural land after the war in the 1990s. And so this area, for instance, here just west of Brčko experienced heavy fighting along the inter-entity boundary. And so I wanted to look at that and say, well, you know, I'd done some research there 10 years ago, and I wanted to say, well, what's going on now? What can we say about the land trend? And so we went ahead and sort of used the defaults in Land Trender and were completely disappointed. So, of course, not surprisingly, when you use a bunch of forestry settings for agricultural land, it doesn't work very well. So we decided, well, let's go ahead and explore the NDVI signal and see what we can figure out. And so our first pass, we tried to pick out the NDVI trend for these particular areas of known abandoned agricultural land, and using the entire Landsat archive, you know, of 2,000 stack of images, it of course times out. And so we reduced it down to about 900, and it still timed out. And so we said, all right, forget it. We'll just look at Landsat 5 and Landsat 7, Landsat 8 separately. And so, you know, this is the kind of plot we were looking at. And so we said, well, that's still quite a bit of noise. We're going to have to look at some metrics besides just NDVI. And so what we ended up doing was, for a given year, we would look at the seasonal NDVI trend and calculate a standard deviation for that season. And so what that gave us was that for areas that were abandoned, you know, there's no tilling going on, no harvesting going on, and so the standard deviation of that NDVI over the growing season is pretty small. And so we can see here, for instance, the war was from 92 to 95, and so that's when a lot of these lands went out of production, and you can see low standard deviation indicates not a whole lot of agricultural use going on. And then in the late 2000s, a lot of these lands started coming back into production. So we've got, you know, all sorts of harvesting and plowing of fields. So we were pretty excited by this, and so then we said, okay, great. All we need to do now is extract out, you know, this initial point here in 1993, and that's when the land became fallow. And then we need to extract out, you know, 2012 or so here, and that's when it went back into production. And then the idea is we can make all sorts of plots and maps. And so here's the map of the beginning of the land abandonment. And so, of course, you know, I think these colors are all pretty clear, so we didn't bother putting a legend on that for you. And then on this next map here, this is the map of the end of land abandonment. And again, nothing else needs to be said. And so a few of the lessons learned, this was my first hackathon, so it was great. And collaboration, of course, turned out to be much easier using a shared repository compared to, you know, copying and pasting URLs around. So we learned a little bit about some limitations for timing out for image stacks. Learned a little bit about array slicing and the challenges there. And of course, this question, why aren't legends easier in Google Earth Engine? Of course, if you were paying attention to the first talk, answered that for you. So hopefully we can all get access to that code and it'll be great. Land Trender is powerful. Of course, it takes some effort to fiddle with it. And of course, I learned some things as a group leader, needing to figure out a better way to subdivide tasks and delegate. And one last thanks to my fantastic team. Couldn't have done it without you.